We're originally going to proof these for pre-orders, which we plan on packing up at the end of the day, although we made some adjustments to our production numbers, and so these will be ready several hours before any extra proofing that I need to do. So these are now 2 hours into their proof, and this is the kind of day we have today. It's one of our busier weeks all year, lots of things happening everywhere, and so my role is just to keep everything organized and keep from things falling apart. So I'm doing a quick set of counts here to figure out what I have and compare it to what I need. As I'm doing this, I also have to check dates on everything and make sure that what I'm grabbing is the stuff that needs to go first. Got some rosemary twists, some palmiers, pain au chocolat. The pastries can live in here for 2 days before they become very urgent to bake off. Weeks like this are a little bit irregular for us because all of a sudden in the middle of the week we have a much larger amount of production than we normally do. And so anytime there's such an irregularity, it makes for a more challenging environment for us to try to mitigate. What's unfortunate about sourdough baking, especially with the pastries, if I need more pastries out for sale, at best I'm like 6 hours away from having them. Yesterday, when a lot more people came in the door than we were expecting, we sort of realized that we're probably going to be facing that most of the week. Off to the proofer. There's not too many rooms like this in the world. We designed this custom proofer based on our learning in the garage. It's always 84 degrees in here, always 84% humid. We're about to build another one in our new satellite facility. All right, so we've now set more pastry to proof, and on to the next thing where I can kind of help be a pressure relief. Quick hand wash and off to the bake. Morning, you guys, welcome in. We made our own little sharps container out of a 1 quart. It's just for used sharp blades. They're called UFO loms. They're a lot easier to use for the baker because of their form factor, and you can actually find them right on our website for shipping. You can find a proof version of them, but you can also go straight to WireMonkey. And it looks like somebody already set this second deck here for me. We've got 80% of the heat coming from the top, 20% from the stone. It's set to 480 degrees Fahrenheit. They are proofed, and so we have to be gentle when placing them on the board. I'm usually going to use the bottom side up. It's not very dry, but it's a little bit dry here on top on the couche. I'll put the dry side down, and that will be the bottom crust of the baguette. The key to the baguettes is achieving the right amount of proofing so that when you bake them, the crumb is nice and airy. The last thing anybody wants is a dense baguette. If you were to visualize the baguette in thirds, you want to keep your score in that center third the whole time. If you go across, you're not going to get the nice, beautiful open ear that at least I'm going for on these. Odd amounts of scores look better than even amounts, so I like to do mine in 3s, but you can also do them in 5s. Some people even just do a single score up the middle. I think that loses a bit of its visual appeal. It looks like I'm just staying in the middle, but I am kind of very subtly arching to my side towards me and then back out. So I'm kind of going on a bit of an arc. It's just very subtle. Each score has a slight overlap, so the next score overlaps the previous one by about, let's say, nearly an inch. And I'll try to go a little faster on this one to catch the steam. It's a fairly fragile product. I'm going to score this one incorrectly just for the visual and go across, which some people do, and you'll see the difference in the final product. It will still obviously be edible, it'll still rise evenly, but you'll lose a little bit of the visual appeal. I'm setting a 15-minute timer, so that's how long the baguettes will bake with the steam trapped inside the oven. So this valve is currently shut. Once I open it, the steam releases and the oven gets a lot more dry. At that point, the crust develops. So for the first 15 minutes of this bake, we'll be trapping the steam in. That will create a really nice color on the crust, also add to the oven spring. And then for the last 9 minutes, we will release the steam and the crust will fully develop. We're trying new things all the time because it's fun. The risk of trying new things is there's things to learn. So for instance, how do you get a simple heavy cream and chocolate ganache to not dry out in the oven? It's something that we're learning in the last minute here. This is already a bigger bake of babka, and it's been improved several times over the course of the last couple weeks, but the last bit of improvement's gonna happen right at the wire. Over the next couple days, we're going to bake hundreds of these babkas, and so we actually really only have 1 or 2 more opportunities to improve upon the final product. It's already delicious, but we're very self-critical. In this case, we want a slightly more creamy ganache at the final product. We want it to be more like what it's like at room temperature when we first make it. And to do that, we need to add 2 ingredients to the ganache: simple syrup and butter. The simple syrup has the effect of retaining moisture and keeping the creaminess. You need to add it at the right exact moment, meaning it has to be added to the heavy cream before the emulsification. Emulsification meaning the combination of these 2 wet ingredients into that kind of pudding-like texture of the ganache. The butter needs to be added as the ganache is cooling down. And both of them have a role in retaining the final texture after the bake. Because while the ganache is perfect at room temperature, we found that it's a little less ideal in the final product. And I've got another oven to empty. I'd say we're roughly a minute late to these baguettes, maybe a minute and a half. They are how I would like them. They are going to be a little bit darker than the typical customer likes them. So you can see that they're a really caramelized, darker brown. They definitely didn't go black, so I wouldn't call them burnt by any means. If I was to have a baguette at home, I would probably choose any one of these all day long. But again, we're appealing to thousands of different customers, and for the most part, you know, a golden brown is more acceptable. These, on the other hand, probably spot on in terms of color. I wouldn't really want to go any lighter, and the sides really won't bake. It's funny, we were talking about the single score down the middle. The scores on this one broke, and so it ended up like a single score down the middle with an ear. Here is the weird one that I scored across the baguette, and so it's very clear when you put it up against a specimen as nice as that one or this one, you know, what you're dealing with in terms of difference. For one, it's not quite as even throughout, and it's probably one of the most common mistakes in scoring baguettes right here, where people take their blade across too much. I'm very happy with this particular side of the oven. The other side, again, I'm also happy with, but less of my customers will be happy with that particular color. Whereas I think this particular color coming out of this side will be appealing to the majority of them. I intentionally scored this weird. Very curious how this one looks on the inside. You can tell that it doesn't even open up quite as much on the inside because of the scoring. Putting the final touches on this chocolate hazelnut babka now, applying a simple syrup glaze. Most people don't realize sugar is a great moisturizer. So like when we make our sandwich bread. Why is there sugar in the dough? It's not as a sweetening agent. We're not using high fructose corn syrup. We're using cane sugar because of the baking properties of cane sugar. And you don't put so much as to make an overly sweet dough. You put enough sugar in the science of baking in order to moisturize the dough. In the application here, the simple syrup does the same thing as what I'm describing will happen to the ganache when we add simple syrup to the actual heavy cream in making the ganache. The moisture will be better retained. Sugar has that quality to it where it grabs onto moisture and holds onto it. While I'm glazing these, another holiday bread is in the oven. We have both our brioche rolls in the oven as well as the braided challah. And the braided challah is made from brioche dough as well. I think we can make some of the best products out there, taste-wise, even technicality-wise, but if we lose our focus on kind of the final touches, the visual appeal, the scoring of a sourdough loaf with a artful scoring, or this glaze, which on the inside is functionally less important, but on the outside makes a pretty big difference. The first thing that people see when they come to a farmer's market, for instance, where there's a huge selection of things, they'll notice, the wide assortment of pastries, the spread, if you will, and well before they've ever tasted the quality of our fermentation, that outer presentation is a representation of the work that goes on the inside of the product too. It's important to meet people where they're at, and that's their first impression, the visual appeal of a product. There it is. There's the challah braids, and made from the same dough, brioche rolls. The brioche rolls are very popular for the holidays around here, and they're just really variants of the same bread in this case. When you bake this kind of artisan style bread, pastry, what ends up happening is there's this connection to memories and connection to culture, and it is, in my opinion, kind of the best part of the job, because it's a time portal connecting customers to, maybe their childhood or a different place and time and a memory. I don't know, perhaps you get a semblance of that in industrial food, but I don't think it's quite the same. I think that when food is made in a traditional way, when it's made and kind of the way that you made it at home with your family, grandma's kitchen, that kind of thing, it's not just the eating of the food, but it's also the delivery of the memories, the through line between the past and the present. I'm leaving behind this somewhat sad babka that was seemingly smaller, and the rest of these will be out for sale here at the bakery. The nice thing about the ones that don't quite make the quality assurance cut up, they still taste the same. So we usually sample with these, just like the poorly scored baguette that I made a little earlier, that I think it's already been devoured in samples by this point. If any remains, it's just a portion of it. The market has already seen almost twice the typical traffic for this particular market. So we better get over there because it's currently being manned by a single person, and my guess is he's going to have a line when we get there. We're gonna have to jump in and give him a hand. So on the way to the car, just wanted to take a quick look next door. We have a big holiday event happening at our local grocery store, and a lot's changed here since the last time we did anything. We put in this produce fridge, so we're able to source a lot more fresh produce. It's starting to look more and more like a grocery store. Today in particular, we even have stuff going on downstairs. We brought in a lot of local makers, people that make locally made puzzles for the holidays, so people can find some unique gifts. In addition to shopping a farmer's market style store, we've added a lot more refrigeration. The store keeps kind of moving back This is another way in which we retail our bread these days. This lets us take bread that otherwise would be unsold and slice it up and sell it at our wholesale discounts. All right, I'm gonna pull up the truck, we'll load it up, and we'll head out. We're either gonna get there just too late after the whole rush, or just in time. We'll see. Two of those and a whole sourdough.
So just the 3 pastries? Yeah. All right.
That is pear, ginger, and cranberry.
What's the type of chocolate?
It's a different kind of chocolate. This is a locally made dark chocolate in here, and this is more of a milk chocolate, a baker's milk chocolate. These are really nice. I love that flavor combination. Yeah, we have our standard country. We also have a rosemary sourdough. I had a quiche Danish at our bakery today. We make broccoli cheddar quiche Danishes. This is a broccoli cheddar quiche made on a sourdough Danish. 2 minutes back in the oven and it's a hot breakfast. I'm so hungry, can't wait to take a bite. Really good, great breakfast, don't need anything else. It's not a market item, I buy health code. Really nice brioche rolls in 6-packs. We also have a variant of them in the fully made challah, but that's more of a loaf. Country sourdough, brioche rolls, and a pack of buns.
Hey, how's it going today?
Can I get a loaf of sourdough bread, please?
A loaf of sourdough bread, in other words, this loaf of sourdough bread, this last standard loaf of sourdough bread.
Yeah.
I really wish I would have brought more bread. We're already out of sourdough, we're out of morning buns, we're out of almond croissants, we're out of probably a good half the menu right now. So I could have brought a lot more, but it does give us a chance to talk about some of these more seasonal items, which I brought plenty of. So it's just gonna be a different than normal strategy for the last half of the market, talking about the new things. Okay, time to put out another big one. Yeah, these are our holiday centerpieces. We only bring them out around the holidays. It's our country sourdough made a lot bigger. So it's one of those days, just pressure relief wherever I can be, whether it's slicing bread or baking the baguettes or advising on a special, pulling things out of the oven, running extra product to the market. That is the life of a business owner on a holiday week. We just be where we need to be to relieve pressure. That's what we've done here, and now it's time to head back to the bakery.
We got English muffins, brioche, pan au chocolat, and twice baked. Anything else for you today?
Nope, that should do it.
Perfect.